Hey, Hodies, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about the heart and being led by the heart versus being guided by the mind over the heart. One of my favorites is the mind is a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. And a lot of people in today's world are letting their mind take the lead. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of people feel the way that they feel, and the why most people are guided by fear. The system's real messed up and it runs so deep. There's a lot of unlearning that needs to be done. I want to start with a quote that we can dive into a little bit again that I actually read on another episode, but I want to read the full, what is this poem? It's by Charles Bukowski, and this is called "So You Want to Be a Writer?" ? And this doesn't only go for writers in my eyes, a lot of what he says here. So I think that's why a lot of people, or you can find this online in like a shortened version of this, because then it applies to a whole lot. But all right. If it doesn't come bursting out of you in spite of everything, don't do it. Unless it comes unasked out of your heart, your mind, and your mouth and your gut, don't do it. If you have to sit for hours staring at your computer screen or hunched over your typewriter searching for words, don't do it. If you're doing it for money or fame, don't do it. If you're doing it because you want women in your head, don't do it. Women in your bed. I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. If you have to sit there and rewrite it again and again, don't do it. If it's hard work, just thinking about it, don't do it. Man, every line I read. Okay. If you're trying to write like somebody else, forget about it. If you have to wait for it to roar out of you, then wait patiently. If it never does roar out of you, do something else. If you first have to read it to your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your parents or to anybody at all, you're not ready. Don't be like so many writers. Don't be like so many thousands of people who call themselves writers. Don't be dull and boring and pretentious. Don't be consumed with self-love. The libraries of the world have yawned. The libraries of the world have yawned themselves to sleep over your kind. Don't add to that. Don't do it. Unless it comes out of your soul like a rocket. Unless being still would drive you to madness or suicide or murder, don't do it. Unless the sun inside you is burning your gut, don't do it. When it is truly time, and if you have been chosen, it will do it by itself, and it will keep on doing it until you die or it dies in you. There is no other way, and there never was. To write something like that, the experience you have to have, the commitment you have to your craft for those messages to come through. Even the first line, if it doesn't come bursting out of you in spite of everything, don't do it. It makes more sense when you obviously have context and have the full version, because this is called So You Want to Be a Writer. With context, it makes sense, right? And even again, there's always an exception to the rule. This isn't always the case, right? For every single person. But that's the beauty of life. But the shortened version that's when it's taken out of context, right? And that's when it starts to not apply to a lot more people. But still, regardless, to come to this truth, it's just deep. This is a deep, deep note. You don't often hear this. When do you ever? Most of the time you hear, do it when you don't feel like it. Do it even when you're tired. Push, push, push. You know what I mean? Yes, we understand that. Hard work is necessary for a more easygoing life. But when you are creating art, that can so easily, like he even says, it's hilarious. I even laughed at that line. He talked about the library, the libraries having just trash, right? Don't be like so many writers. And he says right here, don't be dull and boring and pretentious. Oh no, right here. The libraries of the world have yawned themselves to sleep. Don't add to that. Why is most music, most books, why do a lot of people say it's trash? Because they are trying to appeal to the masses, because they are trying to appeal to others, because they are not putting themselves first, because they are listening to the mind, because they are putting the mind over the heart. And it's not even that one's better than the other. It's the fact that you are letting your mind be the master and the ruler and not using it where you need to use it or when you need to use it. It's not that it's one or the other. They just have a time and a place. You know what I mean? No one says this because it's rare. It's rare to create truly authentic art that is not tainted whatsoever. That is the rarest thing under the sun when it comes to creating an art. The rarest thing. That's why a lot of people probably, that's why you never hear this. A lot of people, I almost want to say can't relate to it, or if it doesn't come bursting out of you, don't do it. No, people go on creating anyway, you know, even when they don't feel inspired to. And you'll hear those quotes, which again, there's two sides to everything, but one, and this is one of my favorites, you know, inspiration. How does it go? I'm pretty sure this is it. You can't wait for inspiration. You have to go after it with a bat. And maybe once in a while that actually works. And maybe the other times that you do that, it is more so force. And maybe it's not the time. And maybe that time could be better spent in doing something else that is calling your heart. Most people are being led by the mind. I've really come to the place where I value the moment over anything. What my heart's telling me in the moment, because a lot of people don't live like this as well. A lot of people pursue one thing in life or make themselves do something that isn't truly aligned with their soul. And this doesn't mean that you're avoiding hard work. Oh no. My days are filled with that. I mean, you could look at it like that. And when I say that, that doesn't mean that it's going to be like that every day for the rest of my life, right? Maybe at some points it looks like that. Some chapters it looks like that. Certain stages of what you're doing looks like that. But the point is, just because you're going with the flow, that doesn't mean you're taking the easy way. If anything, well, the path of the heart is the hard way. Because it's not the easy way. It's challenging. It's not going to be accepted by a lot of people, because a lot of the time, maybe sometimes it will be, depending on, what you desire in life. That's definitely the case. But personally, I'm someone who has a lot of interests. And the reality is we are multifaceted beings. We're not, we're humans. We don't just fancy one thing. You know what I mean? Oh my goodness. That's robotic. That is robotic. That's not human. That's not real. That's not realistic. That's not reality. Even if you just want to bring it down to two things, you know what I mean? Even if you are a dancer, a writer, this and that, there are other things that you like, even if it's a little bit, and that you would in this moment choose to do this versus writing or running or flying in a plane. For some people, maybe this means one thing for a long time, or forever, or for a while, and then maybe many other things equally, or equally many things. And where people go wrong is when they think they have to do something that they don't really want to do. That's where you find misery. And there are, I do think there are some things in this life that just the way the system is designed, right? It's hard to get around certain things right off the bat if you come into this world maybe a little limited. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. Sorry if you hear background noise. The whole time. But there's always a way out. The biggest thing that's going to take you there is that desire. That simple move is the way out. Deciding on that path is more than half the battle in my eyes. If you want it, you got it. And if you truly don't, it won't happen. Life can be as beautiful as you make it. It is always in the eye of the beholder. It is always what you make it. If your why is coming from a genuine place with whatever you're pursuing in life, then you're on the right path. Freedom looks different to everyone. A lot of people don't talk about that. The way to know if you are going to get the most beautiful experience out of this life, and if you are getting the most out of life, is if you are putting your heart in the blueprint that is in you over anything else. Over anything else. And the way to be able to do that, because, a lot of us maybe don't have that luxury. You have to be determined to get there. And again, going back to making that decision, that's the biggest part. That is the biggest part. That's the biggest step. It's the biggest step. I don't hear anyone saying that too, but it truly is. I have a lot of different loves in this life. The podcast has a place in my heart for sure. But that's probably why you won't see me a whole lot, because I am putting the moment before anything. And in some periods that could look like the same thing over and over and over for a long time. But I'm going with the heart, and I know that's right. It's so clear. It's clear everywhere. It's written everywhere. Life can remind you of that in little ways every day. Every day that you exist on this earth. We don't have forever here in this experience. It's like you could live limited, or you can realize that you're limitless. It's always your call. Take your power back or give it up. Your true plan, the one written inside you, is God's plan. Sending love.